guys, today I'm going to read a Jack Tale, and we know that Jack Tales are stories that came from long ago, and they're folk tales. And in this book, the hero in every story is Jack, and these stories were actually collected and retold by Richard Chase. And he went and talked to a man in North Carolina, and he said, I want to hear all your old stories. And he sat down, he recorded him, and then he wrote all these stories down. So the one I'm going to read today is called Hardhead. Now, as we're reading this, you're really going to have to use Rocky the Raccoon and visualize, because there's not a lot of pictures. But I am going to show you the cover up close so you can see what Jack looks like. He's the one right there in the overalls. And that'll help you picture it in your mind. Now there was another king, lived way off back in the country, and his girl got witched somehow or other. And the king, he put out an oration that any man who could break that spell on his girl could marry her. Now Will and Tom, they were Jack's brothers, and they heard about this, and they decided to see what they could do. What they were going to do was go to that old witch who'd put that spell on that girl and try to outdo her in every trick she put to him. Well, now Will, he was the oldest, so he went first. Now his mother fixed him up a cake and a bottle of pop, and early one morning Will pulled out. And he traveled on. About 12 o'clock he came to a big old oak tree, and he sat down under it to eat his dinner, and he took the cake and the pop out of this poke. And just about the time he started in eating, here came an old man with a long gray beard and leaning on a walking stick. Hello, stranger. Hello, says Will. I'm hungry, says the old man. Could you give me a little bite of something to eat? No, says Will. I ain't got enough hardly for myself. So the old man went on off, and Will ate up his cake and drank up his pop, and he went on. And he kept on asking about that old witch, and finally got to her house. And he told her he'd come to try to break the enchantment on the king's girl. So she went and got out a big hackle. Now a hackle, that's a board about a foot square. And it's got a lot of sharp spikes sticking out of it. And back in the old times, they would comb the flax so you could spin it into linen thread. Well, that old witch set that hackle on the ground, and she got up on a stump and turned a somersault. And he hit her back right on top of that hackle, and then she bounced up on her feet. Now, she says to Will, see if you can do that. Well, Will, he put down his money, and that old witch matched it, and then he got up on that stump, and when he came down on that hackle, it stove into him, and like I killed him. Well, that old witch, she just laughed, and Will crawled on off and went back home. Well, one day, Tom decided he would go. So his mother fixed him some cake and a big bottle of pop, and Tom lit out. And he got to that old oak tree and started eating his dinner, and here came the old man. Hello, stranger. Hello, says Tom. What do you want? Well, I'm hungry, says the old man. Could you spare me a little bite to eat? I ain't got no time to fool with you, says Tom. I ain't hardly got enough for me. So the old man went on off, and Tom ate up all his cake and drank up his pop, and he hit the road again. Finally got to that old witch's house, and she pulled out that hackle, and she made her bet with Tom, and she bounced off of it, and Tom lit on it, and it stove in his back and crippled him up considerable. So he lost his money and had to hobble on back home the best way he could. Well, then Jack, he got to studying about it, and one day he asked his mother if he could go. And she wouldn't let him, because he was the youngest. But he kept on begging, till finally she said, all right. She didn't fix Jack nothing but a little ash cake and a bottle of spring water. Well, Jack, he sat down under the oak tree and had just reached in his little poke for that ash cake when there stood a weaselly old man. Well, hello, Jack. Why, howdy do, Daddy. Jack called everybody Daddy. Come sit down and let's eat a bite. It's not much, but you're welcome to half of it. Well, thank you. How you been getting on? About like common, Jack told him. So the old man sat down against the tree And when Jack took out his ash cake, it was a great big spice cake instead. And when he took out that bottle of water, it had turned into the biggest old bottle of pop you ever saw. Now, I can picture that in my head. So he and that old man, they ate that cake and drank up that pop and sat there talking about one thing and another. And finally, the old man says, "Now, Jack, it's been try to right smart going down there to break that spell. Every man that's been down there, they've lost their money, and some of them have got hurt on that hackle." "Well," says Jack, "I thought I might just try." "It might be that I can help you, Jack." "I'd be much obliged if you would, Daddy." "Then you just sit right here till I get back, Jack, and I'll bring you something that might be a little use to you." Well, Jack waited, and in just a few minutes the old man came back with a little trick of wood, and it was all folded up. And he handed it to Jack and says, "Now, Jack, you can take this little piece of wood and you lay it on the ground and you unfold it, and it will make you a ship that'll sail right over dry land, just like one of them boats on the ocean. And if you've got faith, all you have to do is unfold that ship and get in it and say, 'Sail, ship, sail,' and it'll take you anywhere you want to go." Well, Jack, he took the ship and he thanked the old man, and then he set it on the ground and unfolded it, and sure enough, there was a great big ship. And then the old man told him, says, "Now you have to take in every man that you meet between here and that old witch's house. You call in every man you see along the way. You may need a lot of help before you can outdo that old witch. And here, you'll need some money too. Just take this poke with you. It's got about $1,000 in gold. And you can pay me back when you're good and ready." So Jack took the money and he thanked him for that. Then he got in his ship and said, "Sail, ship, sail." And the ship went sailing right over the fields and the trees and the creeks and the houses and the fences, just as pretty as anything you ever saw. Well, then Jack looked down below him, and there was a man running along, butting his head against trees and stumps, looking every which way. And he'd run against a big rock and bust it up and just go right along. Well, Jack hollered to him, "Hello, stranger, what's your name?" "My name's Hardhead." "Well, Hardhead, I think you are. Come on in my ship." Hardhead got in the ship and they sailed on. And then Jack saw a man running across a pasture, eating cows up as fast as he could. It didn't take him no time to eat the whole cow. "Well, hello, stranger, what's your name?" "Eatwell's my name." "Oh, Eatwell, I think you are. Come on in here." Well, Eatwell got in, and then pretty soon he saw a man running along a creek bed, drinking the creek up as fast as he went. "Hello, stranger, what might your name be?" "My name's Drinkwell." "Oh, Drinkwell, you sure are. Come on in here with us." Well, then Drinkwell got on board. And then they looked down and they saw a man run past their ship so fast it looked like he was flying. He wasn't running on but one leg either. And he'd hold the other one up off the ground, and he'd still outrun the rabbits. Well, Jack just did see him as he passed. "Hey, Runwell." And Runwell didn't stop, but he started running circles around the ship. "That's my name. What can I do for you?" "Well, I'd like to have you in my ship," says Jack. So Runwell ran in the ship, and on they sailed. Then they saw a man standing with his head turned up like he was listening. He said, "Hey, do you want to come on in my ship? What's your name?" He said, "My name's Harkwell." Wait a minute. I can hear a chigger gritting his teeth in a tall tree way over there on that mountain. "Well, Harkwell, you must be. Come on in my ship." Well, Harkwell climbed in and they sailed on, and they saw a man with his hand over his eyes, like he was looking at something way off. "Hello, stranger. What's your name?" "Seawell's my name." "I can see a gnat following that hawk a-flying over there across the ocean in England." "Whoa, well, Seawell, I think you are. I'd like to have you in my ship." Well, Seawell got on board, and then they saw a man standing on a hill with this long rifle raised up. and he was sighting over the gun barrel a long way off. Are you all ready to see a picture? I hope you've got it pictured in your head. It may look a little like this. But then yours might look a little different, and that's okay. He said, "Hello there, what's your name?" "My name's Shootwell." "Now just wait a minute till I shoot that squirrel that's a-sitting over there in that tree over in Scotland." Bam! I got him. "Well, Shootwell, you sure must be. Come on and go with us." So Shootwell got in the ship, and they sailed on to where that old witch lived. And she came out and asked them what they wanted. "Well, we've tried out against some of your tricks," says Jack. "Well, all right," she says. "I'll bet you $1,000 you don't have a man that can bounce off this hackle and not get hurt." "I'll take you up on it," says Jack. "You got your money?" "Here it is," Jack told her, and he counted it out. And then she got out of her hackle and got up on a stump and turned a somersault and lit on that hackle and bounced off and danced all around laughing. Hee 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 hee. Then Jack says, "Hello, Hardy Hardhead." "Right here, sir. See if you can do that." So Hardy Hardhead ran up on that stump. He took a back somersault, came down head first on that old witch's hackle, and broke every tooth in it out. Never even got a scratch. "Well," she says, "you've got me beat on that one. Now, have you got anybody that can eat more than me?" "Oh, eat well." "Right here, sir." So the old witch brought out 2 big old cows, and she took her stand by one of them, and Eatwell got by the other one, and she hollered go, and Eatwell jumped up, ate his cow, ate a horse and a couple of sheep and some pigs, and that old witch hadn't even ate half her cow. So she's getting mad, and she said, "Well, I bet you don't have anybody that can drink more than me." "Oh, drink well." "Here I am, sir." Well, that old witch, she took her stand at the head of one creek, and Drinkwell went at the head of the other creek. And she yelled, "Go." Well, Drinkwell had drunk his creek dry, 2 of the branches, and was drinking up the river before the old woman had even had a chance to swallow. Now, Jack had made $1,000 every time, but that old witch, she just wouldn't quit. She just kept right on. Well, the next thing is to see who can outrun me. It's 700 miles from here to that ocean. Now, we'll take 2 eggshells and see who can get back with his shell full of ocean water. It'll be salt water, so we can tell whether you run plumb there or not. And we'll bet you another $1,000 on a foot race. "I'll have to raise it to 4,000, says Jack. So the old woman got the money, and she laid it down, and she got the 2 eggshells. And Jack backed up to the ship and yelled, "Oh, Runwell, come on out here." So he gave him an eggshell, and the old woman took hers, and they got on the line. And Jack hollered, 1, 2, 3, go. And off they went. They were out of sight before you could turn around. And then Jack and the others sat down just to wait. Well, Runwell, he got to the ocean, and he filled his eggshell full of ocean water, and he started on back. And he met that old witch about halfway, and she knew there was no sense of running. She yelled at old Runwell and says, "Hey, wait a minute. There's no use us running ourselves to death. Let's just sit here and rest a while." Well, Runwell stopped, and they sat down and got to talking. And she grabbed him and pulled him over and witched him sound asleep. And she put an old horse's jawbone under his head. And as long as that was under his head, he would stay asleep. Well, back there where the others was a-waiting, Jack began to get a little uneasy. And he saw Harkwell jerk his head up, and he was listening. "What do you hear, Harkwell?" "I hear somebody snoring," he says. Well, then Jack told Seawell, "See well and look well and see what you can see." Well, Seawell looked way off. Runwell's a-laying with his head on an old jawbone, and he's sound asleep, and his eggshell is busted, and that old woman is pretty well near the ocean. I think she's put a spell on Runwell with that thing under his head. "Shoot well," says Jack. "Shoot quick and see if you can knock that old jawbone out from under Runwell's head." Shootwell raised up his old long rifle and shot, and it was over 300 miles. But he hit it dead center, and he knocked that jawbone 30 feet. Well, Runwell sat up. He sort of scratched his head, and he looked around a little bit, kind of addled for a minute, and then he saw what had happened. Because there was his eggshell all busted up. So he jumped up. He ran all the way back to that old witch's house, got him another eggshell, and ran all the way to the ocean. And that old witch was stooping over to get up her water in her shell, and Runwell gave her the biggest kick and knocked her clean out into the middle of that ocean. And then he filled his eggshell up, and he was back in no time. So Jack, he picked up all the money, and he and the men got in the ship and sailed on home. And Runwell and all the others went back to where they came from. And as far as I know, they're all a-getting on all right. Now, I never did hear whether Jack married the king's girl or not, but anyhow, she never was bothered with that spell any more after that. And Jack went to where he met the old man and paid him back that $1,000 in gold. And that ship, Jack still got it, I reckon. He took me riding in it several times. And that is the story of Hardhead. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good old folk tale that you can tell somebody in your family, or that they can tell you. And don't forget to get on our Facebook page or our website, and we'll be posting all kinds of new videos for you guys and all kinds of activities. We love you and we miss you lots.